He is the one.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations such as this, giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world, in the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. If you're a returning subscriber, or 1,392 of you I think there are to you today, welcome back, or welcome one and all. It is a pleasure and an honour to have you join me for these walks through these beautiful locations. So thank you one and all for being here. So, by the title of the video today, why are porn films an hour and a half long? Believe it or not, this isn't about porn, but it is, but it's not. So, I am a child of the 70s, so I'm a Gen Xer, much like a lot of you watching, and some of you are even older than I am. And when I was a kid, porn was not like it is today. Definitely not as accessible as it is today, but nothing like it is today. I mean, it is a veritable minefield. Speaking about this subject, it's one of those things that to talk about is difficult because it is, like I say, it's completely different from what it was when I was a kid. So when I was a child, growing up, you maybe had one of those magazines with nude women. Ooh, how racy, and that was, compared to what we have now, I mean, it's tame. Naked ladies, oh my God. Hey, I'm all for naked women, but all for it. But now it's gone in a completely different direction. Now, I don't want to beat on or beat off those who are watching porn, but this chat I think is an important one to have because, well, as we go through, it'll make more sense. All right. So, porn. Why is it an hour and a half long? Now, I've been asking people I work with, and for those of you who don't know, I'm a chef. Been in chefing for 37 years now. It's been the majority part of my life I've spent in underground basements, cooking for people and generally being tied to a sink and chained to a stove for 37 years. So it's a different group of people that you'll find working in hospitality. It's often been referred to as hospitality kitchens are often referred to as pirate ships because it is a bunch of people that could come from a variety of backgrounds. Some people were in prison, people were ex-military. Just the outliers of society end up in kitchens usually. And it's an interesting place to be, especially since I was a child. I was 15 when I started cooking. And I've been asking people I work in a couple of different places. And while I've been in those places, I've been asking people, have you ever seen the end of a porn film? Right. Now, an hour and a half long. I mean, I don't think people are watching porn for the storyline. I think the storylines back in the 70s were interesting, but I don't think there is any storyline nowadays. I think it's all just, I can't even describe it anymore. It's so hardcore and not real, which is the reason I wanted to tackle this subject today. Because I've got younger children, and they're growing up in a society where their understanding of sex, not my youngest ones, obviously, but kids in their 20s now grew up with this porn on demand. And not just porn, but like the most hardcore donkey porn, like this filth, absolute filth that I've said before, I don't like to think I'm a prude. I don't. I like sex as much as the next person, probably more actually, probably more so than double the amount of people. But it seems like I'm coming off prudish when I'm talking about this subject because it's so completely different from when I was a kid. I mean, I don't know if you can agree, but the difference between maybe naked ladies in a magazine to a line of guys lining up to have sex with one girl. I mean, it's mental, and filming it like it's just a job. Like, oh, well, it's just a job. It's just normal, you know. So kids growing up in a society where that kind of outrageous porn, I think it is. It's completely outrageous. It's not real. And this is why I wanted to tackle the subject today, because it's not real. Porn isn't real. It's not real, you know. It's you talk to like 20-year-old kids, and you know, they look at porn films like educational. You know, like that's where I need to learn how to have sex. Like, you're like, hang on a minute, it's not real, right? You know, these people don't go on for an hour. You realise that, right? You know, they have fluffers and they have all these people in the background that do all these jobs to do with the industry. And it's not real. Oh, yeah, it's 100% real, man. Yeah. 100% real, yeah. And it's this unrealistic nature of the expectation of sex is destroying people's relationships. You know? It is... The reason I wanted to touch on this subject is because, you know, I'm looking at it from my perspective as a father of two young daughters who are, you know, one of them's 15, one of them's 12, and they're coming up to that age where they ask those kind of questions, and you have those kind of conversations with them, but it's completely different from what I grew up with as a kid. You know, my parents, two boys and a girl, my brother and my sister, and the sex education talk was a book called, I can't even remember what it's called now, but it's basically just the underpinnings of biology of what's the difference between boys and girls. And obviously you couldn't do that nowadays because there's 70 different genders, and how that all worked to create babies. Strange. Strange. But it wasn't, you know, it wasn't about this hardcore filth now. And it's over the top. Like, this is me saying that. I've spoken about this many times in the past. I have been in situations that you wouldn't believe. But here I am talking about how far gone it is now. Now, the unreality of it is what is my concern, right? That like everything in this world, I mean, when porn was first starting, you had Hustler and, you know, Playboy and all these kind of things, and Larry Fink, I think, was the first real sort of porn magnate, and not the BlackRock Larry Fink, it's another one. Maybe they're related, I don't know, but you know, now it's like Pornhub and it's available. Who owns Pornhub, by the way? Who owns Pornhub? Maybe have a look into that. But it's not, none of it's real. And like, you know, I've been speaking about in all my videos, everything around us is not real either. You know, we are living in the Matrix, you know, and this world that's being populated for us by social engineers. I have to invert commas on around that one. These social engineers that are engineering our society to have a belief system based on a world that they want to create for us. Now, when you look at who owns these platforms that produce this content or allow this content to be brought to a wider audience, then it leads on to more questions. Now, I'm not going to tell you who owns Pornhub. I want you to go and look for yourself, because if I tell you something, it doesn't have the same impact as you going and finding out for yourself. But this whole my role out here is to touch on subjects that people don't want to talk about or don't have any interest in talking about, because it's like, oh, well, there's nothing you can do about it, much like my last video, or the one before. Last video, if you have, offshoot again, like I always do, I'm sorry. If you haven't seen my last video about Carbon 60, please go and watch it. Even my wife, who is my harshest critic, liked that video. Like, you know, she's harsh, critically harsh on me, because she wants it to be understandable. And, you know, like if you've been here for any period of time, you've seen any of my videos, I go off on tangents and she can't follow the tangents. So she's like, I don't understand what you're talking about anymore. But Carbon 60 video, watch it. It's really good. Even I say it's really good. I liked it. The lady who I was speaking to, Ruth, wonderful lady, very knowledgeable. Ruby, sorry. Very knowledgeable, talking about the product, Carbon 60. Have a look at it. But let's get back to the unreality away from the reality of Carbon 60. Carbon 60 is amazing. Unreality of the world we live in, created by these social engineers. Now, the social engineers comprise of multiple different groups who are influencing how our society is shaped. Now, it's been an unpopular thing that, you know, in a lot of my videos I talk about creationism, you know, that the world was created. Yeah, by the same token, I also talk about that we're living in a matrix, or a creation of some higher being. Let's put it that way, because people don't like the word God because it's association with religion. I get it. But it touches a few nerves. Like some of my friends that I've known for many, many years, they're like, "Why are you always talking about God?" Well, you know, in the time that we're living in, it is, you know, what I see is we are living in a time of good versus evil. And it really is. It's good versus evil. And the more we stray from a good moral fibre, and this is me saying, like, you know, morally I've done everything wrong. And I've said it in every video. I don't try and be the person I'm holding up to be the standard. I'm not. No one should copy or emulate my lifestyle, because I've done everything wrong in my life. But that said, I do have some morals. and the older I get, the more I look at it and think, you know, there are some arguments to be had for some moral virtue in the world, because without it, you know, where do we go? You know, do as thou will. You know, do as thou wilt is the Satanism slogan. Do as thou wilt. Do whatever you want to do. Do whatever you want. Doesn't matter. It's just like being in a video game anyway. You know, it's get pregnant, have an abortion, take a pill, just kill it. Doesn't matter. It's not a baby. You know. But yeah, and wherever you sit on that debate, and I've talked about that before. Or you can't say anything, Chris. You don't have a womb. But men can get pregnant, right? I'm not allowed to have an opinion about abortion and birth control from a man's perspective, because it takes a man to get you pregnant, believe it or not, ladies. But you're telling me at the same point that men can get pregnant. Okay. No, I'll go along with that argument. Sure. Bullshit. Oh, sorry, I must have that new Rona strain that's going through all the... what's it called? XTC strain. Okay. Okay. But this moral fibre, you know, we've when I was a kid, religious education was part of school. I mean, I did, you know, before I went to a Catholic school, I was in public school, and religious education was still part of the curriculum, learning about God and the different religions and how their belief systems correlate. You know, it's funny that all the religions argue with each other and say, "Oh, our God's the real God. Our God's the real God." No, my God's the real God. There's only one God, right? There's only one God, one creator of this entire creation that we're living in, this illusion, this matrix, whatever we're calling this, you know. There's only one God, right? But you all have a different name and a different belief system of how you show your love for that God. But it's the same God. But yeah, you're going to argue over the details of which God is better. Makes sense to me. Nothing like divide and conquer, right? Okay. Now, this unreality that is porn, right? The unreality of porn is exactly the correlated to the unreality of the world we experience as reality. It's not real. None of it's real. You know, porn is just a symptom of. It's a way of showing that the world that we're inhabiting is also made up. You know, it's like television. You know, I've done television before. For those of you who don't know, I have. I've written movies. I've written a children's book. You know, I'm not actively involved in the industry, but I have been on television multiple times. Now, when you go and shoot some television, you shoot the film that you're going to shoot. What do you think that correlates to the storyline that you want to tell? Now, at any point, you can use that same footage and tell a completely different story. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about storylines in porn, by the way. There's no storyline anymore. At least, like I say, back in the 70s, at least there was a story. There was a story arc that went through the film. You know, like the plumber would show up at someone's door. I hear your pipes are broken. You know, like I got just the tool for that. And then the music would start, and you knew what was going to happen next. Now it's like you turn it on. It's God, prude, obviously. But it just shows just how unreal things are when you've got a porn film that goes for an hour and a half. An hour and a half. I mean, people are going to watch porn because they're feeling a bit frisky and they want to... how can I say this nicely? Masturbate? They want to jerk off. It's like, what was that movie? The Wolf of Wall Street. And he's sitting down with that banker and he's like, "Do you jerk off?" He's like, yeah, jerk off. And he's like, "How many times a week?" I don't know, 3 or 4. Those are rookie numbers. You're going to have to get those numbers way up. Me, personally, I jerk off 4 or 5 times a day. Not because I want to, but because I have to. You know, and for people without an imagination, I mean, I've got an imagination, so I really don't need it. I don't watch porn, just so you know. For people without an imagination, they watch it so they can get ready to perform the duties that they've set themselves for for that moment. But an hour and a half? An hour and a half? Really? Like, okay. But it's a symptom of this creep of moral decay in our society, that it is so prevalent and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. People are, you know, I've heard it said on, you know, from multiple different places that as people struggle more, they struggle, you know, financially, they tend to turn towards drink and drugs and porn, you know, to get rid of the stress out of their lives. You know, I think there's better ways to deal with stress. Maybe you go for a walk in the forest, breathe some fresh air, maybe rest that arm a little bit. But this moral decay that's moving through our society is engineered. It's engineered because the way that the people who call themselves the elites of our society, the wealthy, the powerful, the people who attend the World Economic Forum, millionaires and billionaires who go there to decide how the rest of us are going to live, decide that, you know, and there's a guy called Yuval Noah Harari. Where's he from? Not going to say. While we're talking about that place where Yuval Noah Harari is from, and maybe the owner of Pornhub is from, I've also heard rumblings of studios that were set up in a certain country to, you remember I was talking about honey pudding? Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and P. Diddy and many others, Hugh Hefner, that studios were set up to record those encounters with minors, and I'm not talking about the people who dig underground, I'm talking about minors, was in a country we're not allowed to talk about. Because if you do, you're a bad person. It's all right for us to kill people, but you're not allowed to do it. Okay. Now, this decay in moral fibre running through our society is engineered because ultimately they want us to kill ourselves or kill each other, which is divide and conquer, but on steroids. Because people like Yuval Noah Harari have spoken on multiple occasions about going back to a nouveau feudalism society where you have the serfs, which is the average person who makes the society work, and the wealthy elites who don't have to do anything because the work is all done by the serfs, and they reap the rewards because they hold the assets that perpetually go up in value because of inflation that is caused by the central bank and the government's overprinting money for their own ends. So they want to return to a nouveau feudalism where we are basically, we work to survive. We can't change our place in the class structure. It's very classist. Can't change our place in the class structure, and you will be a serf for the rest of your life. Now, we'll medicate you with the latest drugs, newer, stronger strains of marijuana, or we'll sedate you with more porn or on-demand entertainment. On-demand, if you go back a few videos where I was talking about on-demand, you'll see what I'm talking about. On-demand is everything on demand for you, but you'll own nothing. Who owns it all? You'll be renting it for the rest of your life. Own nothing, you pass nothing on to your children. Just enjoy, jerk off till you go blind, and watch filth, and while the elites do their thing with adrenochrome and young children, all filmed so that they are compromised and will do the bidding of their masters at the World Economic Forum and Trilateral Commission. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about these organisations that are NGOs, non-profits, think tanks, anything international, world, globalist, should be a warning to you. Any of those labels, world, international, global, you know what they're trying to do is they're trying to do away with your own freedom, and if they have their way, you will be a serf, and you'll be that way for the rest of your miserable life. And they will tell you how to live your life, and they'll medicate you and give you a dopamine hit with porn, the most filth that you can possibly imagine. And you'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. That's their motto. That's their slogan. You'll own nothing and be happy. Porn is just a symptom of it. You see what I mean? It's not really about porn, but it is about porn, because porn is a symptom of the ruination of our society through social engineering to control the masses with things to distract you away from the criminality, and the lockdown of everything that you ever wanted to do. So while you might not be able to travel anymore because it's too dangerous, obviously climate change, clearly climate change is the biggest problem that we're facing in the world, not the fact that you can't afford your own groceries at the moment, and you're struggling to put food on the table. Forget about that. Here's some more porn for you. Here's the latest movie to tell you how much climate change is going to kill you in 500 years when you won't be around, or your children, or your grandchildren, or your great-grandchildren, because they'll all be dead from the policies that they're implementing now. Yeah, and all the billions that are being spent on climate change. If you ask any politician, and I mean any politician, I'm sorry, go back on climate change again, it just drives me bonkers. Climate change, porn, it's all the same. It's all bullshit. It's all lies. Ask a politician, how are you going to solve the climate change crisis? We need money. It's going to cost us tens of trillions. Okay, how are you going to spend that money? Oh, we're going to spray the atmosphere, just like in TheMatrix. We're going to spray the atmosphere until we block out the sun. But don't all the plants need sun to sequester carbon dioxide and grow? And to grow our crops and sequester more carbon dioxide? Isn't that more important than the temperature going up a degree or two? No, Chris, you don't understand the existential threat that we're facing with climate change, because if we overheat the planet, I'm like, all right, hang on, I want to understand. If we heat up the planet, what happens? Like, rudimental understanding of science. Clearly, fool, crazy person, conspiracy theorist, okay? Walks around the forest talking to himself about subjects he has no clue about because he didn't finish high school, okay? Just so you know where I am, crazy person. I want to understand. I've asked climatologists, believe it or not, they exist. I've asked weather experts. That's not the people who are changing or creating the weather. I'm talking about the meteorologists, weather experts, okay? The other ones we'll get to in just a second. Spoken to meteorologists and say, if the world heats up, we have more evaporation, forms clouds. The clouds reflect the sunlight out of the world, cools the world down, right? Well, yes, in theory, Chris. In theory, yes. And I'm like, okay, so where's the problem then? Oh, it's the methane. All right, so we have to kill all the cows now. Okay, yeah, we have to kill all the cows because they're farting too much. What about all the wild animals in Africa? Africa. In the continent of Africa, not the country, okay? The African nations, let's put it that way. What about all the wild, the buffalo and the zebra and, all the other animals that eat the grass and fart as well? Do we have to kill them as well? I'm not sure, because you at the same breath you're telling me hunting's bad. So I want to understand, how does that work? We're going to have to kill all those? No, it's just the cows, Chris. I'm like, okay, all right. I don't understand any of it, because maybe I should do some more reading. Maybe I should have gone back to school. Anyway, back to the subject. Porn, climate change, everything is bullshit. It's all a lie. It's not real. Like, porn's not real. It's not real. They splice the film together to make it look like it goes on for an hour, but it's not real. We're being sidetracked. We're being, look over here, don't look there, whilst everything is changing in the background. No one's watching. Talk about, I talk about gold and silver all the time. Look at the gold. Gold is a record high the other day, $2,731 for an ounce of gold. $2,731. It's not inflation though, Chris. Okay. And the silver price on Friday it went up $3 an ounce. Today it's sitting at 30. When I started recording, it was $34.17. $34.17. Oh, but you, Chris, you're not an economist. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, you don't have to be. Can you read? That's all. It's the only qualification you need. Can you read? If you can read, or you can listen to a podcast that's going to explain it to you with an economist, all the better. Everything is changing in the background. I mean, look at we are on the verge of some kind of financial calamity. I can't tell you where it's going to come from, because all I hear is financial calamity everywhere I go. When I talk about the public consciousness, when I'm going through information that's in and around us, I glean from that words, phrases, concepts that I try and make sense of in the realms of what I have come into contact with before. So what I understand of the subjects I'm talking about, how that links into my knowledge of that. And like I say, I don't want you to trust a word I say. All I'm asking you to do is listen to what I have to say and then go and do your own research. Prove me wrong. I mean, I really don't mind. But there's so much changing in the background. It's almost unbelievable. It's so hard to keep up with it, with the changes that are happening every day. You've got new laws are being introduced. You've got the BRICS nations are announcing, when is it, 22nd? Tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow, 22nd until the 24th of October, the BRICS nations are meeting in Russia to talk about their new digital currency that they're going to be using for international settlement, for trade. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, but it's Bitcoin, Chris. And I'm like, ugh. The only way it can be Bitcoin, right? And I've said before, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the only way Bitcoin can be used as an international trade element, to shift value from point A to point B, is if it runs on a different blockchain, like the XRP blockchain. And it can. If you tokenize Bitcoin, you put it on the XRP blockchain, you can have Bitcoin moving around the world at the same speed as XRP for zero cost, without all the bullshit that comes with Bitcoin. And yes, you can update the Bitcoin ledger, which is all Bitcoin is. It's a ledger of who owns what at what point can be updated, and as one of the 7 transactions a second when the Bitcoin network isn't so overloaded. 7 transactions a second on the Bitcoin network. Visa and MasterCard do 50,000 a second. So do you really think that Bitcoin could be used for international settlements of transactions? Yes, but I don't think it can run on the Bitcoin blockchain. Second layer, third layer solutions perhaps. But, if you're talking about the first generation of technology, is it ever the best when it's first generation? Never. Who created it? It keeps on coming back to the same point. Who created it? If you can't tell me who created it, then, sorry, not interested. Again, not real. Again, not real. Nothing is real. So the way I see all these things, it's constant. It's in my face all the time. These subjects I talk about, and it's the reason I talk about them in the way that I do is because I use different subjects to highlight the main topics of conversation in our psyche, in our consciousness. Porn is one of them because it's so prevalent, so pervasive in our society that to look at the way our society is being structured through social engineering, through using as porn as a lens, gives you another way to see that social cohesion breaking down because of the way that it's being ramped up over time. Like I say, when I was a kid, it was maybe some dirty magazines, some pictures of naked women, and now it's just the fabric of our society. People don't trust each other anymore. People don't meet and talk with each other anymore. They go onto social media, anti-social media, where the content is structured in such a way that whatever the platform decides is not allowed to be talked about, much like Facebook, where they said, "Oh, the government told us we weren't allowed to talk about these subjects." Bullshit. When you're using the media, who are known to be fake news and lying scum, as fact checkers on your social media platform, I think we've got a serious issue. But porn and the ownership of porn, who owns these platforms? Why? Oh, because it's money generation, Chris. So it's all about money, right? So the only thing that's important is money. Like, what did it say in the Bible? What did it say in the Bible? People misquote it all the time, say money is the root of all evil. It's not. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. If money comes above everything, so it's a way of making money, Chris. That's all it is. It's just business. It's not personal, right? So you could say the same thing about the actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his ilk. Oh, it's just about money, Chris. It's, so we a bunch of kids got raped and murdered. Yeah, but look how much money we made. I feel like I'm living in crazy town. I really do. I feel like I'm living in crazy town because the more I speak about these subjects, the more people push back on me and say, "Chris, you're a crazy person." And I'm like, I'm the crazy one? I'm the crazy one for pointing out just how fucked up the world is, and I'm the crazy person. "Oh, you swear too much, Chris." And I'm like, okay, you're having a go at politicians too much, Chris. A couple of videos back where I said, where people are just like, oh well, there's nothing I can do about it. And there's in this movement, the Great Awakening movement, the conspiracy theorist movement, the 17th letter of the alphabet movement, all these movements that correlate together, and it's, well, we don't want to be like the other side where we're swearing and cursing at people because it shows that we're unhinged, and we can't be like that because we have to set an example for everyone else. So we have to be good people and not raise our voices and not get in people's faces and not point out where the issues are, because if you do that, you're feeding into this idea that the media paints as the people who are on the sort of more right of centre are the ones who are the problem. And if you swear and curse and you call people names and you call them out in public or on Twitter or wherever you are calling them out, then you're playing into that role of being the bad person. I say good, because the reason we're in a place right now where no one even talks about the Epstein client list, where they were people smuggling children to an island for the wealthy elites of the world, and no one knows who was on that list of the people who went to the island. This is why we're here, because people will keep their fucking mouths shut and not say anything. They're like, oh, I don't want to be seen as a bad person. You know, like I said to you, wealthy people I know, business owners, they don't want to associate with me because of the way that I am, the way that I'm going to say fuck off to people, you're wrong, or that's a fucking paedophile who's raping and killing children. But I'm the bad guy for saying it. This is what's wrong with our society. It is fucking broken when you can't bring up the worst crimes that have ever happened in our history of that our history that's made up, but the worst crimes against the most innocent in our society, you calling it out as the problem, whilst the people perpetrating those crimes, they're the elite and wealthy that are telling us how we should live, who also own the porn platforms that are shaping how our society sees sex. Our youth, and training our youth to think that, oh, well, just bang anyone, it doesn't matter. Yeah, if you do get pregnant, have an abortion. It's not a kid. It's not a person till it comes out. So you can go and have a 3D scan of a baby in your womb at, what is it, 12 weeks or something, and you'll see it's a tiny little thing, you know, little tiny thing, but it's not a person. It's not a human. It's just a few cells, Chris. It's nothing. So, now, all that said, all right, you know, I do like to finish on a positive note because, you know, for all my life I've been watching this societal breakdown, and I've been a good person, and, you know, I've kept my mouth shut and I've gone along with it and gone, okay, so that's how things are. Did it all wrong. Booze, drugs, sex, you name it. Sex, drugs and rock and roll. Been there, seen it, done, got the t-shirt. Wore the t-shirt out. Set it on fire eventually, but, you know, got the t-shirt. I've seen this societal breakdown all my life. I've seen it. But now what I see is more people realizing that the way the world's going is not beneficial to them, to their children, or to the world at large. People are noticing that the fact that we've taken a God or a higher power or a divine spirit, creator from our lexicon, from our lives, has it led us to a better place or to a worse place? And I've seen people have really started to ask themselves that question: is my life better for letting go of traditions that guide us on a moral path to have a better society, close-knit society, where we had some moral guidance rather than just do as thou wilt? So I've seen more and more people coming onto more and more people listen to me for what I don't know. Like, I'm still baffled how many people join me for these walks, because it is the things I say are going to trigger people because of the way that I say them. And I get it. I understand how people see me. I understand better than anybody because I get it all the time. But the benefit, we have to go through these dark times. The lobster story, I've told it many, many times before. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to one of my older videos. The lobster story, we have to go through some shit before we get to the other side. Right now, we're going through some shit. And it's going to get a bit worse before it gets better, because people have to come to that realization that the way we've been living doesn't benefit us short term, and it certainly doesn't benefit us long term. So we have to change the way we do things to have a different outcome. Right? You know, like Einstein says, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result is mental. It's insanity. Do you want to be insane? I know I don't. So how about we change the way we do things and we start to appreciate that we are living in a created reality, that Creator created a beautiful, beautiful place for us to be, but it's been hijacked by people that call themselves elite, wealthy elites, royalty, to enslave us into a system that doesn't benefit us. So, what I do out here is introduce you to subjects that make you think about things in a different perspective. That's all I'm asking you to do. Think it from a different perspective and say, never thought about it like that. Then go about your day and do whatever you're going to do anyway. But that's what I do. I come out here, talk about things that people don't want to talk about or can't talk about because I don't want to be shut out of society. Me, I'm already out. Don't care. So, all that said, go out into the world. Do good and be good, and you can change the world with the way that you think, the way that you talk, what you're sharing with people, how you talk. And sometimes you're going to have to tackle things a different way to get a point across to the people who don't want to listen. But anyway, look after yourself, look after each other, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Ciao for now.